Do these smell like burnt popcorn to anyone else? Here's how to rig the Bellows lineup. And I wanted to help kind of break down what this bait is for and how you can rig it. The first thing to understand, but also you can kind of tell by just looking at it, is that this is a bluegill imitator. The Bellows gill is a little bit rounder than this. This is the Bellows shad, but with that kind of roundness that's supposed to be imitating a bluegill was the rounder, kind of wider presentation. Or if the bass sees it this way, it looks like a normal paddle tail or like a thinner worm. However, the key point of this bait that a lot of people don't really talk about are the ribs. And not because, you know, the ribs give it a nice flexibility, the ribs give this bait a lot more volume. However, it's the idea of pushing water. It's something that we don't really talk about here in the US, but in Asia, it's a very big deal for us. Each of these ribs will hold water, and when you move this bait, it'll push it. And that movement of water is something bass can feel with their lateral lines very well. And with that in mind, the creator of Geecrack, his preferred / suggested way of fishing a Bellows gill or a Bellows shad is weightless on an EWG hook. The reason for that being is, one, this bait will fall really slowly because of all that water it catches, and it makes a really nice falling motion, almost like a death spiral, and bass will just pick that up. With that being said, if you fish somewhere a little deeper or you just don't want to wait for your bait to hit the bottom, a simple belly-weighted screw lock hook is a great option as well. And kind of in line with that belly-weighted hook, a belly-weighted underspin is also a killer option. If you fish around a lot of rock and don't want to just throw a crankbait all the time, a football-headed jig like this or a swing head is a great option. And of course, it wouldn't be a hobbyist fishing video if I didn't talk about the free rig or even a Texas rig are great options. If you didn't see my video yesterday about the Cheb rig, is a killer option for the Bellows gill. If you're like me in a state that doesn't have a lot of crawfish and bass aren't really used to eating crawfish, back of a jig is the perfect bluegill imitator. This is the Bellows gill swimmer. Very similar to the Bellows gill and the Bellows shad, however, it has a paddle tail. A normal jig head is a great option for the Bellows gill swimmer, where you put it right through and then that hook just comes right above the ribs of this bait. However, don't underestimate taking the bait sideways and putting the hook in this way. Now let me put you on the juice. This is a screw lock designed for like a blade with a 1/4 ounce stick weight on there. And what you're going to do with this is take your Bellows gill, your Bellows shad, or especially your Bellows swimmer, and you're going to screw this into the front of the bait. Then you can take a wacky rig hook and you're going to go through that screw lock and through the plastic. Now you have a great way to fish an exposed hook that will help with your hookup ratios on these smaller swim baits, but also have a weight, almost like a Geecrack rig. But with that screw lock in there, you're not pulling this hook out of this plastic and ripping it up all the time. This can be fished on the bottom, just like a Geecrack rig, dragging that weight down while still having this bait swim, but also you can hop it. And if you kind of hide this hook back into the ribs of this bait, you can fish it pretty weedless as well. Now, if you want to try out the Geecrack Bellows lineup, check out my friends at JOOTTIYODI.com. They sent me a bunch of these and I'm going to go fishing with them real soon. So what are you waiting for? Get out there.